Love lives here.
Thank you, Jubel. Thank you for that beautiful rendition of that beautiful song, a song that this morning we dedicate to Reverend Lee, that we are filled with grace and gratitude for her presence in our community, for her presence in our lives. Though I did not know her personally, her legacy of love continues to live on beautifully in our community at Riverside Center for Spiritual Living. Reverend Lee touched thousands of lives with her wisdom, with her love, and with her compassion. As I mentioned, she served our community for 10 years from a place of grace, a place of gratitude, a place of poise, a place of love. And it is that we carry on with us in this time, in this hour. And she also served at Asilomar. She was one of the chairs for our Asilomar convention. And it was at our Asilomar convention that Reverend Doug Fogelsong, our minister, my minister, Ed's minister, first minister, met Reverend Lee. And Reverend Doug shared with us something throughout the years that was always stuck with us. And that was this phrase. It was, everything will be okay in the end. And if it's not okay, it's not the end. Well, this week, as he learned of Reverend Lee's passing, he shared with me that it was from Reverend Lee that he got that phrase that he used so often, that people at Center for Spiritual Living Greater Las Vegas, like, we heard that all the time, right? And it was from Reverend Lee that he got that. And so Reverend Lee's presence continues to reverberate and ripple out in ways that you and I will never comprehend, as does our presence, as does your presence, my presence. We continue to, our love continues to ripple forth from us in unfathomable ways. And so we know that all is well. Though that Reverend Lee's physical life has come to an end, that all is truly well, and she continues on for eternity. Because we know that life is limitless, life is deathless, life is eternal. So blessings to you, Reverend Lee, this day. We love you, we honor you, we are so grateful for you, and for the ways that you have touched all of our lives. Yes, Sophia, I'm in a high place and I am not coming down. Yes, absolutely. Wonderful. So, my beloveds, let us begin this time together with our focus statement, shall we? So, let's say this together. We embolden people to live their highest potential through the transformative power of love. This is what we do here at Riverside Center for Spiritual Living. Let's say it all together again. We embolden people to live their highest potential through the transformative power of love. Yes. So today, or this year at Centers for Spiritual Living Worldwide, we've been working with the focus of 2020 spiritual vision. And this month, we have been working here at Riverside Center for Spiritual Living with the book by Joel Goldsmith, The Government of Eden. And today we are talking about grace and gratitude. I wonder where that title came from. So let's go ahead and dive in, shall we? So Paul, in his first letter to the Thessalonians, writes, in all things give thanks. In all things give thanks. And so what we know is that God created everything, and that which God did not create was not ever created, so that we know that everything that was created is God. Everything that was created is created from God, as God, through God, and is the divine made manifest. And so in all things, we give thanks. In all things, we magnify, we glorify, as Joel Goldsmith says, we glorify the Creator, we magnify, we raise, we recognize, we praise, we give thanks for the Creator, for having created absolutely everything. And in so doing, we recognize that we are free, that there is no power opposed to the one. There is simply the one. So there is not a power of good. There's not a power of evil. There is only God power. And when we recognize that there is only God power, then we recognize that there is only the one, that nothing could stand opposed to that one. When we recognize the God power that is, then we are centered and we are anchored in peace. The peace that passes all understanding. The peace. And in knowing that peace and recognizing that peace that is present, we recognize that gratitude is of God. Gratitude is actually another form of love. And so when we express gratitude, we're actually expressing love. And what we also know is that God is love, right? So if we're expressing gratitude, then we're expressing love. Then if we're expressing love, then we're expressing God. So if we're expressing gratitude, it only makes sense that we are also expressing God. We are also expressing the divine, that we are recognizing and realizing that God is all that there is only that one. And so then we're coming into alignment with that truth, recognizing that gratitude is actually an activity, and a God activity, a God expression, expressing through each and every one of us, and that we are the vehicles through which God expresses its love. God expresses gratitude, which is another form of love, an aspect of love, that God is expressing it through all of us, through each one of us. So therefore, there is no way that anything could ever be withheld from us. There is no way that love is withheld. There's no way that gratitude could be withheld. That this is a ease and flow through which Spirit, if we open ourselves, we make ourselves available, we become the vessel, the vehicle, the transparency for God, the transparency for love, the transparency for gratitude. So gratitude is similar to what we were talking about last week of lifting our eyes, right? If we lift our eyes, gratitude is another form of being able to lift our eyes and see greater possibilities than what lies before us. But with gratitude, we can enter into this idea, we can enter into this sense of awe, the sense of wonder, the sense of expansiveness, by actually seeing rightly, by seeing the world around us. So by seeing the world around us, so what we can see, what we can know is that there is divinity throughout, right? And we can look at the divinity within our surroundings. In all things be grateful, and all things be thankful, is what Paul said. So we lift our eyes to see rightly, to see above the person's head, right? With the italicized eye. We lift our eyes barely above, and we see rightly. 2020 has had its challenges. Would you agree? There's been a lot of challenges in 2020, and we can either cast our eyes down and feel hopeless and feel downtrodden, and we can feel at the effect of, or we can lift our eyes, and we can lift our eyes in gratitude. And one of the ways that we can do that, especially this week, as we contemplate gratitude, as we contemplate Thanksgiving, as we contemplate what that means, start where we are. Start simple. There are so many things to be grateful for. There are so many things to be thankful for. That if we focus on our gratitude, if we focus our gratitude, then what we have to be grateful for begins to expand exponentially. And as it begins to expand exponentially, what we see is that there is no limit for things for which to be grateful. Whether it is person, place, thing, experience, that it is always, yes, Shawnee says that 2020 has given us many openings. Absolutely. So grateful. So this week, right? We can, as COVID numbers are rising, as we are seeing the effect of the world in the world, as COVID numbers are rising, for example, we can be disappointed. We can choose to be disappointed that we are gathering still online and not in our sanctuary. We can choose to be disappointed that we are not able to celebrate the holiday perhaps in the ways that we have in the past. We can choose to be disappointed in things aren't the way they used to be. Or, I mean, there's several options, there's several possibilities, especially when we look up, right? We're open to the possibilities by looking up. Or we can be grateful. We can be thankful. And so we start right here where we are. Let's say, you know what? I'm thankful for the camera that I'm looking into. I'm thankful for the plastic that it's made from. I'm thankful for the oil that became the plastic that it's made from. I'm thankful for the people that brought the oil up from the earth to make the plastic. I'm thankful for the factory. I'm thankful for the ingenuity. I'm thankful for the oil in the ground itself. I'm thankful for the oil rig. I'm thankful for all the people working in the oil industry to bring this oil here, and then people working in the plastics industry and people working to create the plastic that goes into this, and then the mold that goes into this, and the ingenuity and the creativity and the curiosity that allows just the plastic. And then I can shift my focus to the glass that it's made from and be thankful for the sand that creates the glass and the melting of the sand. And how did somebody come up with the idea of if you melt sand, you get glass, and then it becomes clear. The stuff that's not opaque, and the stuff that's opaque suddenly becomes clear, and then it's the glass and the metal that it's made from. And the pulling it from the earth and the way it is fired and moved and shaped, and then the technology and the computer, and that's just the camera. What about then if we expand it even further and the technology that we're using to be able to be together in this way, and the creativity and the innovation and the God consciousness, the science and the intelligence and the divine wisdom that had to come through people in order to create the technology that we're then using? And what about the electricity that we're using, and Thomas Edison and the light bulb and Tesla? And what about Ben Franklin flying his kite? What about lightning, right? All the electricity. What about the laws of electricity? And giving thanks for that. You see how this happens, so that it begins to expand even further and even greater. And all I'm focusing on is like, wow, how do we go back even further and give thanks for this and give thanks for this? The gratitude becomes limitless. The gratitude becomes limitless. And as the gratitude becomes limitless, we recognize that the gratitude itself is limitless, and that gratitude is a form of love. Then we know that love too is limitless, that love is never withheld, that love is always eternal and forever flowing and forever making itself known. And so there is no limit to love. It is this expansive, all-encompassing. And as we know that love is expansive and all-encompassing, then we know that source, spirit itself, is life, is love, is all-encompassing, all-expanding, forever expanding. There is no limit to it. There is no limitation to it. And then we have the realization of the looking up, the awe, and the wonder, and the miracle, and the magic, the the unfathomable, the ineffable that created all of it. Our minds, our human minds can't even begin to wrap around the vastness and the expansiveness of what this is. And so then there's the feeling of awe, there's a feeling of wonder, there's a feeling of love, there's a feeling of oneness, there's a feeling of bliss, there's a feeling of peace. Because we come into the realization that, wow, it's all God. It's all the divine. It's all life. It's all love. And therefore, if that's the truth of everything, then what's the truth of me? What's the truth of you? That we are that. Each of us is the I am that I am. Each of us is not only made in the image and likeness of the divine, but each of us is the divine made manifest. Each of us is the expansiveness made manifest. And nothing is ever withheld from us because we already are it. And so it is that which we can embrace. It is that which we embody. It is that which we focus our attention and our intention upon. That we, as Joel Goldsmith says, sow to spirit rather than sowing to flesh. And then there's no expectancy. Good job, Neil. It's not related to expectancy. There's no expectancy. There simply is an opening and an allowing. There's the recognition that God's grace is my sufficiency in all things, that I don't need to go asking for it. God already knows what I have need of. If God is omnipotent and omniscient, doesn't God already know what I have need of? And isn't it God's good pleasure to give me the kingdom? Isn't it God that maintains and sustains its beloved creation? That's what we know to be the truth. So nothing is ever withheld. When we come into the realization of our oneness, when we come into the realization of our conscious union with God, our conscious union as God, then the laws of man, the laws of mankind, these laws fall back into the nothingness from which they came. We actually transcend them, we transmute them, and we come into living in a state of grace that Paul wrote about, that God's grace is my sufficiency, as he wrote to the Corinthians. God's grace is my sufficiency. I need not ask. I need not beg. I need not plead. I need not bargain. Because when I know that God is, that I am, then I am liberated from that idea of two, the idea of duality, the idea of good and evil, the idea of separation. I am liberated from that. And so I am liberated from, and you are liberated from, the laws that hold that in place, the man-made laws that hold that in place, the ideas of separation that hold that in place. And then we come under God's government, the government of Eden, which we also know as grace. So today, we practice gratitude. Gratitude is an activity of God. Gratitude is an expression of God. Gratitude expresses through each one of us. We are the vehicle, the vessel through which gratitude expresses. And what you and I have the opportunity to do is to focus our eyes, lift our eyes to see more possibilities, but also we could use our eyes, use our gaze to allow our gaze to fall upon that which is around us and begin giving thanks. Give thanks for all of it and allow that gratitude to expand, allow that love to expand, allow that God consciousness that is within you to expand. Because one path to grace, one path to liberation, one path to freedom is gratitude. Is gratitude. So this week, as you are celebrating Thanksgiving, perhaps, I want you to remember that Thanksgiving is not a single day. Thanksgiving isn't the fourth Thursday in November if you're from the United States, or the second Monday in October if you're living in Canada. Thanksgiving is a state of consciousness. It's a state of consciousness that opens us to the grace of God. So this week, as you're going about your day, as you're going about your week, I invite you to consciously give thanks and observe how life shifts, how life changes, how open and abundant and loving and giving and receiving life is. I wish all of you a blessed Thanksgiving week. Peace and blessings. And so now let's come together in consciousness. Right here and right now, I recognize the one power, the only power, the all power that is God, that is the divine, that is spirit. It is love, it is joy, it is peace, it is bliss, it is harmony. It is the I am that I am. It is the maker of all, the creator of all. And it is simply the one expressing itself always and in all ways, through and as all. And so I recognize that I am, that the totality of my being is the I am, the great I am. That I live, move, breathe, and have my being in it, and it as me. That I am inseparable from it, that I am the one life, the eternal life, the whole presence, the whole power, the whole love, the whole peace, the totality of my being is God itself. And as I know that this is true of me, I know that this is true of all of creation. I know that this is true of everyone present here this day. That each one is the wholeness and the perfection of the divine. Each one is the love of the divine, made manifest, expressing as only each one can the divine emanation and impartation, the divine manifestation that each is. Each one is a vehicle and a vessel through which love, through which gratitude, through which peace, through which joy, through which harmony expresses itself, through which God expresses itself. And so I speak my word here for this beloved community. I speak a word of gratitude for this community that assembles every week, this community that comes together, this community that is that was born of and through the divine to serve Riverside and the larger community. For all the generations that have walked through our doors, for all the generations that have been part of what is now known as Riverside Center for Spiritual Living, for each individual soul, for each individual light, for each individual love, I do give thanks. I give thanks for the way God has expressed through each one of them and continues to express through each one of them as each one of them. Knowing that collectively we are the beloved community who continues to move and advance this work forward in our larger community, where advances the work of transforming lives, of emboldening people and transforming lives through the power of love, through the presence of love. I am so grateful for the willingness for each one of our community, each one in our community, to be the vehicle, the vessel, the transparency for God, to show up by divine appointment, by the high call upon their lives, to show up as the love that they are, as the love that is all of life, to show up as the presence of God, the presence of love, and to share that love and to express it out into the world, to be that transparency for it, expressing it, sharing it, contributing and making a difference. I am so grateful for the willingness of each one to lift their eyes, to see the truth, to see above the realm of appearances. I am so grateful for each one, that each one lives in a state of grace, a state of gratitude. Grateful for the blessings. Grateful for all of life. I'm grateful for the state of grace. That we together as a community rise above. That we sow to spirit, not to effect. That we as a community come under the government of Eden, which is also called grace. I'm so grateful to know this. I'm so grateful to experience this. I'm so grateful to walk with each beloved here and now. I am grateful for the giants upon whose shoulders we stand, so that we may see clearer, so that we may see higher, so that we may see, live, move, breathe, and have our being in love. And I release this word now, knowing it is fulfilled. I let it be, and so it is.
Love